Right, now I'm going to talk about word problems involving triangles and small angle approximations. This is one of the common, very popular kind of questions that you can get with this topic during your exams or tests. Now, we'll talk about an example, but let's just talk about how to solve this kind of questions generally. As the topic of this lesson, it involves triangles. So it could either be a right angle triangle or a scaling triangle, which is non-right angle. So I'm just going to draw something that looks like a right angle triangle, but maybe not, So any triangles. Now, the thing is, what happens is that usually in those questions, you will have a angle x, and they will tell you in the question that the angle x is sufficiently small. So that brings in the topic on small angle approximation in these word problems. Now, how to solve these questions? All right, let's just list out the steps. And then we're going to correspond the steps. To an example, a real question over here. Now, usually what we need to do, and this is where a lot of students will forget. So hear me now, and write this down in your notes. Is that in order to be able to start the question, we would have to remember to use, let me write it this way instead. We will have to formulate an equation. All right, formulate an equation. Using either of these. So sometimes it could be the trigonometric ratio, and in a context in Singapore, trigonometric ratios are commonly known as tua so. The ones you learn in secondary 2, tua so, for right angle triangles. Tua so. That is what we use for right angle triangles. And then in Sec 3, back in the days, you also learn sine rule as well as cosine rule. So remember to use one of this, not all of them. All right, so most likely you just need to use one of this to formulate the equation, that will involve the small angle and the trigonometry, So it could be sine, it could be cosine, it could be tangent, it depends on the question. So I can't really say for sure, it depends on the question, it changes, but generally you will need to use either of this to formulate an equation that will involve the angle as well as the trigo function, Now, step number 2, what happens is then you will apply your method for small angle approximation. Small angle approximation. And most often or not, according to experience, is that I would say that these two are kind of tied together. It depends on the question, but usually you would also be expected to expand, and simplify. All right, using the standard series, the standard series expansion that you get from your MF 26, which is your formula sheet. All right, so this is what you will need. Now I'm going to move some of these over here. So you know what, I had the intention to actually give you the sine rule and cosine rule. So let's go ahead and do that. Sine rule, it is actually sine A over A, is equal to sine B over B, right? So if this is the angle sine A, then the opposite one would be A over here. So let's just mark that down, A, and then this is A. All right, and then some known angle B, depends on what it is, and then after that on the opposite side would be the length B. So you can set this up using this sine rule equation, and then after that one of these, either A or B, would be your x, right? And there you have the equation that is in terms of the small angle as well as your trigo function, which happens to be sine. Now cosine rule, it would be, in this case, we will need to write the C over here. So sometimes you might, then in that case you wouldn't use this, you only have one angle, and then you have 3 sides, in that case you will use a cosine rule. Perhaps they might call this A, B, and C. So you are asked to find the length here, BC. So in those cases, over here we can have A squared, which is BC. The length here must be equal to, then you could use your equation, which is B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine A, okay? All right, so the A would be the x over here. Again, then you would have formulate an equation, all right, using cosine rule, okay, where it involves the small angle, which is x, and then you will fill in the b's and c's, which are usually known. Then this A would be the unknown over here, okay? So it will make more sense when you start doing the question. So make sure you have all this handy, and then after that you can apply the appropriate rules, okay, or trigonometric ratio to formulate your equation. Once you have that, as you can see, we have the sine x, we have the cosine x in this case. We're going to apply the small angle approximation where we will approximate these values, okay? Okay, so there you have it, all right? Then we're going to take a look at the an example in the next lesson, okay? So we will use one example, and then we would talk about these 3 steps again, okay? Applying to that question.